Mason Farm is a 367-acre reserve to the south and east of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. It's been managed by the North Carolina Botanical Gardens since it was given to the university in 1894. Mason Farm was donated by Mary Elizabeth Morgan Mason, one of the last descendants of the Morgan family, who had settled in this southeast corner of Orange County in the late 1740s. Morgan Creek, the creek that runs through Mason Farm, was named after this family. Morgan Creek, that runs through Mason Farm, empties out into the Haw River, which goes all the way down to the North Carolina coast. The Mason Farm Biological Reserve protects natural areas, supports academic research, and public education. It often hosts controlled burns to maintain a habitat and for biological research. Here's an example of a controlled burn taking place on the grounds of Mason Farm. Aside from being a place for education and learning, Mason Farm also offers a wonderful home for hundreds of plants, animals, and birds. Mason Farm is a very special mix of habitats: wetlands, fields, and ancient woodlots. Some of the trees in them, including some huge Elgin oaks, are more than 200 years old. There are no absolutely pristine forests left in the NC Piedmont, but several Mason Farm tracts are quite similar to, if not identical with, what the first settlers enjoyed. Several of the fields were never completely cleared, nor was the soil plowed. Scattered trees were cut for lumber, and farmers dug drainage ditches to help drain adjacent fields. The berms or dikes that line Morgan Creek were originally dug by slave labor, but in the 20th century they were maintained with machinery. There are a couple of sites that have been located that show Native American occupancy from about 800 years ago. Biologists have identified about 800 species of plants, including goldenrod, which stretches along many of the trails. And Mason Farm is known for its birding and contains 217 species of birds, including the scarlet tanager. Mason Farm also has 29 species of mammals, including this marsh rabbit, 28 species of reptiles, including this red-bellied water snake, 67 species of butterflies, including this Carolina satyr, 23 amphibians, including this rare green tree frog, and 287 species of fish. Along with these numerous animals, Mason Farm also supports 6 rare animals, including the long-tailed weasel, striped skunk, king rail, green tree frog, squirrel tree frog, and Dion skipper. There's more diversity here than any other comparably sized place in the NC Piedmont because of the diversity of habitats. Also, Mason Farm is a part of what is known as the Conservation Corridor, a continuous stretch of undisturbed land that allows critters to move, migrate, and otherwise have a home. The part of Mason Farm that means the most to me is a 2.5-mile track that goes through Mason Farm. Ever since I was a small child, my father has been taking me here for walks, to look at birds, and enjoy the day. Ever since I can remember, my family has had a tradition of going on a walk in Mason Farm after we open our gifts on Christmas Day. At first, I thought these walks were a chore, because I wanted to stay home and play with my new gifts. But later on, I realized how important they were, because it let us connect with the natural world in this wonderful sanctuary that was Mason Farm. As a child, Mason Farm was a place for discovery. Everything I saw and everything I touched was new and intriguing. Every rustle in the ground sparked a new adventure to find an unknown animal, usually just a squirrel or bird, but nonetheless fascinating. Sometimes the rustle would even scare you, fearing a rat or a snake. But Mason Farm was more than just a 2.5 mile track. It was endless possibilities of direction. Every step was off on a new adventure toward a new and different destination. You were in control of where you ended up and what you found. Later on, the trail took on the same meaning of freedom for me. I went on numerous runs around the area, while listening to the chatter of the birds and always being wary of the rustles in the leaves in case of a snake. It was comforting to know you had an escape from the commotion, like a walk in the middle of Christmas to get away from the chaos of the holidays. As you enter Mason Farm, you'd have to cross a ford going over Morgan Creek. This is always a favorite part for me as a child, not only crossing, but after you cross, playing along the creek. The first section of the trail is a long straight path along one of the ditches. During our winter walks, it was always fun to see the ice over the water and test your luck on how thick it was. This section also boasts the largest rabbit and rodent population because of the brambles that line the side, but along with the rodents came interesting droppings from owls for investigation, often containing hair and small bones. The next section is covered by trees and has always been my favorite part because of the invitation for adventure. Every which way something was inviting you to explore. One could spend hours back in these woods, and we often did. The trees then led out into a large marsh. This section was always the most intimidating. You had to be close to a parent at all times, because every rustle was most likely a snake or horrible sea monster in your mind. But as you grew older, the marsh had the most life. The ground, covered by dead leaves and grass, was transformed into a wonderland of color and life. Every square inch had something going on, but it led to the most dangerous adventure, because you could get your shoes wet, and that was no fun. After coming out of the wetlands, you came upon an open field, one of the fields maintained by the Mason Farm Biological Reserve staff as a habitat for many animals sustained by the park. It always seemed like we spent the most time in this field because we had just left my favorite section and come out into my father's favorite part of the farm because of the numerous birds that called this field home. My dad is an avid bird watcher and liked to linger in the field, much to the annoyance of his children. Finally, as we came down the finishing stretch of Mason Farm, we would race to the fork where the loop started and look down the path and wish it hadn't went by so fast. But at the same time, we were excited for the next trip. Thinking about Mason Farm, probably the most interesting part is the transformation that takes place. It's probably the most interesting part in nature in general. Transformation from one day to the next, one week to the next, or one season to the next. One day, the river would be so low, you could go out into the middle and explore rocks you'd never seen before. Or one day, the ford would be too high and you couldn't cross over Morgan Creek. Or from season to season, the winter with the frozen creek and the barren trees and only rustle here and there, to the summer and spring, where everything is alive and bustling. There's action everywhere. Recently, I've noticed not only new threats, but threats that have been haunting Mason Farm for some time. First, there's been some construction going on near the parking lot of Mason Farm for I don't know what. Some old threats include that there's a golf course some 200 meters away from our Mason Farm, and has been for as long as I can remember, as well as a water treatment plant that's about a mile away with pipes running along Morgan Creek. The golf course and water treatment plant can lead to pollution of the waterways in Mason Farm and along Morgan Creek. And as I've lived there, I've noticed that the ditches hold less water and hold the water for a lot less longer as well. Hopefully in the coming years, Chapel Hill can cut down on these pollutions and continue to preserve Mason Farm as a sanctuary for humans and non-humans alike, so that people of future generations can enjoy it as much as me and my family have.